Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Tanguy Jacopin, and we are on K2Born to deepen your knowledge in marketing. The issue of the day is positioning. How can you understand it better? How can you understand why it's a key success factor? How can you determine if customer have a good point of what you're doing? Okay, so let's start. We're going to make it the following way: definition, some key questions that you need to answer, the different stages through which you need to go, example, and wrap up, just to be sure that you got the key insight concerning this anytime video. Okay, let's go on. So when we are talking about the positioning, it's really important to go through that. Is that you have to understand where that you have to define the place where you want your product or your services has to be in the customer mind. Most of the time, you can link it with moment. You can say special event, for instance, parties. Imagine you make a cake, a nice cake, and you've got the candle. Well, obviously, you've got a correlation. So you can say, well, in this case, they're going to use it. Well, imagine you've got a family of 4 or 5 people, 4 people, just to say an average. So they're going to use you on this repeating event. And the more people you will know, more people you will be invited to, basically, it will be correlated. Or you can say, for instance, we can be talking about beers, for instance. You're not going to drink the same beers going to the hour of the day, to who you are with, and it's important if you are a beer maker just to have a portfolio that is open to the hour in the day. To late body, it's important as well to have a strong alcohol beer, and for people that want to say that may be tempted to drink strong alcohol with moderation, always keep it in mind, but it would be an alternative. And obviously you can say, well, maybe you need to have some more flavor beer for women customer. So it's really important that you play with this element. Or same issue, just to mention another issue about you can say if you are Louboutin, you want to be associated with high-heeled shoes or boots. It's really important to associate it. And in this case, just to have the connotation of party, this is the reason why it was the first shoemaker just to have the red sole. Okay, so this is something that you associate it with, and this is important that if you're able to make it, basically it will be much easier for a customer, but as well for people out of this circle to say, hey, this is the type of shoes, I know where it comes from. Okay, so this is all the story with the logo and so on, but first it has to be structured at all levels, and it implies to answer some challenges, because it's not, when you're using a brand for many years, well, if you need to switch, you need to have some good reason to switch. So it can be cheaper, it can be easier to have access to, it can be a no-brain issue, it can be new channel distribution, it can be promotion, it can be peer recommendation. These are some of the elements that you need to focus on, and always it's always the same story. I mean, point 1 is linked with the point 4. If customer can switch from another company to yours, they can be tempted to go from your companies to others. So, what type of service can you offer to retain them? Okay, really important to think about it. It's normal to have some churn. It means some you cannot keep all your customers. It's not in your interest in all the cases, I would say, because you've got some customers that are rich and even have gone over what they're spending for your brand, it's they are not productive, so it's even better when they leave. Okay, but globally speaking, when you are in a crisis period, you cannot lose any customer. Okay, sometimes you can say, well, you put it on you put it apart, but I can say you can try to reconcile yourself with your customer, but don't try not to lose, even if it makes far more sense when you're growing in a crisis period. Pay lots of attention to it. And then you've got well, I've forgotten R here. What is valuable in your offer, and do you think it's as valuable as you think? Because it's really important to contrast it with customer, to challenge, to ask their opinion, not to delegate, just to go for it, and to understand. Maybe you can think that hey, I've got a fantastic remote control around. But the customer, if she doesn't understand how to use it, problem. You know, the simpler the better. So it can be an issue. And on the other end, what you can have is that you can have a fantastic product, but nobody knows that your product exists. What you do then? This is a big challenge. So here you need to say, hey, in terms of awareness, what can I do? If you're interested in this, I recommend you to go to the decision-making process. This is where you're going to make it. I mean, first you need to define your positioning, and then you say, hey, what can I do in terms of awareness just to leverage it up? Okay, but first it's about putting, and then, well, some things that it's important to take into consideration. Positioning has to be anchored to a certain extent, because otherwise your customer will be lost. You cannot be the cheapest company and then you cannot be the most expensive one. People are not going to buy it, or reverse. For instance, a Cadillac cannot be cheap, so it's not going to work. And a Jaguar cannot be cheap, otherwise it's not going to work. Cadillac did this mistake. Jaguar is lowering down at the level that is quite that can become problematic if they still lower down the prices. And in the at this point it's important to say something. Yeah, maybe you've heard about H&M campaign with top brand just saying, hey, why don't we commercialize once Sonia Rykiel, once Jimmy Choo, and so on and so on. Here it's different. The big deal here is just you say, these top brands, they say, we are committed to our environment. We are leveraging the brand to an affordable price, and because we've got extremely high volume, it makes sense from an economic point of view. But the most important thing is it's a commitment with their community. So it's oriented in terms of it's a social action in a sense. Okay, really important to keep in mind. And last but not least, it's okay. You need to define what you want for your customer, because maybe your customer doesn't know what they want. This is the job Steve Jobs premises. They don't know what they want. They need to have it in front of the eyes just to say, hey, I love it. But otherwise, they will not be able to tell you ahead of time, this is what I would like to know. And this is the reason why it's complex to be with your consumers, and to treat to pay too much attention to your customer, because they are not neutral. Okay, so really important to keep this in mind. And at this point, what's going to happen? Well, here it's about basically you create your positioning. At some point, say, hey, I want to go through a perceptual analysis. You will select some element for the platform. You will say, well, I want to be, imagine we're talking about Louboutin. So for instance, say it has to be classy. You need to introduce some new material, it has to be eclectic, it has to be adapted, it has to be for party, colorful, and high yields. And if the market goes for 6, well, you add 4 6 centimeter always, and you add the eve, and it has to be you need to recognize. And just to say something, but here I say, well, it's difficult to make the difference. So you need to add something. And here he added the soul, the red soul, because you have the red soul. Well, it's a symbol. Maybe you heard the trial between Louboutin and Yves Saint Laurent, just saying, hey, well, you need to put a soul. Yeah, but all your soul were black until now. Why do you want to put a red one, just the one that I created? So here, I'm not saying who's right, who's wrong. I let justice doing its business. But what is interesting is that if always more companies are moving and are, let's say, introducing red soul, you need to reposition yourself. So here you got something, and this is the reason why I insist on it. What can be fashion now will not be fashion in the future. For instance, in terms of heels, it was a strong focus on high heels. Then you've got mid heels that are always more successful, and on the other hand, you can see that you've got always higher heels that are moving to up to 12 or 14 centimeter, and you've got flat shoes at the opposite. So it's complex, because if vertiginous heel of our friend Louboutin stop selling himself, well, basically he will have to make a repositioning of his brand, and this is the reason why the image won't let him do what he wants. So it's really important to say this is something that I like. This is something what so this would be the identity. You manage to have a really strong positioning in the customer mind, and to a certain extent you are forced to move away. So this has happened, for instance, for Jimmy Choo, and well, it's not always easy, because they are moving in so many directions at the same time, that it would be interesting to see if it's a success move in the upcoming years. Well, because as you know, Tamara Mellon left the company. She's launching a new company now. So what's going to happen? Okay, so these are some of the elements that you need to keep in mind. So here, just to say it, when you reposit, it will imply modifying somehow your anchoring, and this is something that it's not always easy to make it work. Okay, so at this point, you will have to keep some of the attributes that you follow, and you need to play only on a few attributes, not to introduce too many change in the mindset of the customer. Otherwise, you lose it. Oh, you lose her. Okay, so we were talking about Louboutin. You lose her. Okay, so just to give another example, here, for instance, the platform evaluation, iPhone 5s, for instance. So here you've got some different criteria, and just trying to see if it works or not, comparing with the competitors. So you can see power, design, innovation, and in terms of rows, in terms of color, broad appeal, motivation appeal, credible superiority, different technology, feasible and sustainable. So here you can see some of the elements You can share some point of view or not, but well, this is an example that I tried to answer on my own. So I hope that Apple guys and Apple geeks won't be too harsh with me when we are saying it. Okay, so what does it mean? In some case, yes, it has broad appeal in terms of power, design, and innovation. Power, motivation appeal, not that much. Design and innovation are great. Credible superiority, no. It's always a bigger problem. Now you need to think about what did they want at Apple. When you put Cook, CEO, and you've got such a great result in terms of profit, we're talking about, I mean, the profit of at Apple are superior to 40 billion USD. I mean, it's just amazing. Yeah, it's in the top 3 in the world, and therefore you cannot say it's a bad CEO. You say that some of Apple fans may be disgusted because it's not so disruptive as it used to. But take into consideration that Apple required 4 to 5 years just to launch new generation of products. So at this point, I wouldn't worry that much. My point would be in 5 years, if they haven't launched something truly disruptive, then would be the point. But at this point, even if there's some strong movement in the stock exchange, just remain cool and enjoy it. Okay, so this is an example of platform evaluation, and here, for instance, it's put with well, I could have put yes, no, okay, no, it's not so, question mark, but you can put some numbers as well, and you can put some what is more important for you, when you can consider you can launch it. So these are some elements that are, according to me, nice to be taken into consideration. Okay, so just to sum it up, segmentation and positioning are fundamental because it's a conditioning phase of the 4 P's: price, product, promotion, and pace. So why is it? Because first you've got segmentation. You go and say, boom, this is where I want to go, and you build everything from there. So you can say, for instance, if you get a bad segmentation, basically you won't go maybe to the right product, right service that you want to engineer. But never forget, in any case, that the real marketplace is mental. Say, hey, where do I want to go? What are the options I want to choose? And because you will be aware or not, well, if you miss the point here, you're done. Okay? So you need to think about the consumer mindset, and last but not least, you need to consider its versatility. And because the versatility is really is growing up in all the fields of expertise, and for all products and services, you need to reposition, not constantly, but on a much more regular basis, your product as you used to. And this is something that you need to pay lots of attention to. The offer is becoming always more, supply is becoming always more important, and due to this, you can choose all the time. So to reinvent yourself will take you more time. So if you are able to make some small innovation by 1 degree, as Jean Nouvel would say if we were talking about La Défense, I think you would make a great point. Okay, so this is it. Pay lots of attention to your positioning and you will have a fantastic return on investment. Okay, thank you very much to be with us on Care to Born, and hope to see you soon. Ciao, ciao.